Welcome back, Ben. Said I'm running, but I take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. And that's you, Ben.
Vivat Grendel, Eli.
Vivat Grendel, Ben.
Came in episode 11 of The Devil in Detail.
It's insane. It's insane. I do want to shout out my good friend Adam King, who made this glorious friend of the devil that we're speaking over now. All the previous episodes, I was kind of looking to find cool friends of the devil. Just I played some Dead. I played some Roots of Creation, a little bit of Joe Craven. I did funky one, but from here on out, I think we're gonna have Adam King generate us some special, one-of-a-kind friend of the devil's, as we are a friend of the devil here on The Devil in Detail.
It's our Grendel Reread comic book podcast.
Yeah, man.
We're up to the end of, just about the end of Black, White, and Red, the 1998 miniseries that fills in a lot of gaps and expands on the legend of Hunter Rose, the original Grendel.
Yes, and as Matt says, it's star-studded and multi-Eisner nominated.
Before we get into that, tell me about your week. What'd you do?
It's been a great week, Ben. Today, I just went to the comic book store, got a bunch of stuff, finally got my Matt Wagner Grendel collection. Sorry, Matt Wagner Batman collection. It's a beautiful hardbound novel. It is very cool. I'm excited to get into it. You've been enjoying that for a few days. I also picked up a giant Bill and Ted's collected, Bill and Ted's comics collected.
That's Evan Dorkin, right?
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna be dorking off later to that.
Cool, man.
And just had a lot of fun working. There was some extra work that needed to be done with the Cartoonist Kayfabe Ringside Seats group that I moderate online, which was a taxing adventure, but I feel like I've come out on the other side all the better. And I thank everyone who helped me with that, worked with me on that, and helped me grow as a person, as a moderator, as an understanding human. It's all about learning and moving forward and growing. What about you, Ben?
Sure. Well, most of my week was dominated by the shame of a mistake that I made last week where I talked about Hochi Anderson's Dr. King graphic novel, and I had it mixed up with another Dr. King floppy comic whose publication I still don't really understand and did not do enough research leading up to even tell you what it is, but it was like a 16-page King in Birmingham comic that was published, I don't know, in the 60s and then later on recently, and so I apologize to any Hochi Anderson fans and Hochi Anderson himself. Your book was not in 50-cent bin. That would be silly. And I've been working on wrapping up pages, putting like the finishing touches on pages from Oh Fuck Why, my comic book, and thinking a lot about that old Dave Mazzucchelli adage that you want to be the last person to have your hands on the book before it goes to print. So I will be you will be the last person help me with some production, making sure all the bleeds work out. But I did all kinds of little tweaks here and there over the wonderful colors of Morgan Hickman, who's been just like absolutely killing it, giving me like the look, like exactly what I was going for. So
nice.
That's been the week, man.
It looks really good too. I'm excited to be a part of it, and man, I'm excited to get into these books because we got some great stories today. We got 4. We're gonna kick 4, but let's kick it into the big time.
With the box ready to go, fast and slow. Yeah. Vivat Grendel.
It's like the devil is my best friend. Hunter Rose with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
All right, Ben. What a theme. Thank you, Manus Dunbar, Zach Johnson. Be on the lookout for new music from Manus. He's got a new album coming out very soon, and it's going to be awesome.
The last few weeks, we've had kind of a tough time getting through 3 stories, and I think the episodes are getting longer and longer.
Yes.
We've got 4 today because 2 of the stories are like simpler with like less like text basically.
Mhm.
So we said we'd do 4. Let's see how it works out.
See how we
First
do.
one up, Devil's Toll, John Paul Leon.
Oh man, yeah. It's beautiful. This first image of Grendel on this page too, I think is like if you Google search Grendel for photos, it's one of the first things that comes up. For some reason, it's I don't know if for some reason, but it's a very striking image. The eyes are different than normal Grendel.
Sure.
Let's talk about him though, John Paul Leon, a little bit first.
Sure. I first came aware of him a number of years ago when I had a collaborator who was an SVA alum. And when he would talk very fondly about Walt Simonson. And when he would talk about Walt Simonson, he would also talk a lot about John Paul Leon, who went to SVA, I think Wikipedia says between 1990 and 94.
Okay.
Though it seems like he broke into professional illustration at TSR, probably at the age of when he was a teenager.
Oh, wow.
It's just like, it's one of those, like, he's been like all over Marvel, DC, Vertigo.
For sure.
What's the Tom King book? Baghdad, King of Baghdad.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh yeah, he did that. Did some Brian Wood stuff, DMZ.
I really saw him first in the Marvel Earth X line
Right.
of books, which
Totally.
I loved, man, when I was growing up. Loved it.
I think that, he's a relatively young guy who's been working in the field, since we were boys.
Yeah.
And he's 10, 11 years older than we are. But when you look at this style, it's a master's style. And it's sort of hard to believe that he's a, not like, an early middle-aged guy, if that.
Yeah.
And
And I
20
mean,
years
he's really,
ago, he was super young.
yeah, he's really got that, like, I mean, his style is perfect for black and white, like he doesn't even need colors. And I'm sure, cause he did one of the Batman black and white stories as well, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of had this same gothic feel. Fits perfectly with Grendel.
Yeah. I remember a run on Detective Comics. It's one of those things. We've seen a lot of people that are really heavy on the photo reference, and I think he's probably the best of that batch. I read a little
Right.
bit about his process, and it's just making sure that it looks right, making sure it looks real. Devil's Toll, the
Yes.
toll that the devil takes, it would seem.
It does, yes.
Cool.
That an interaction with the devil can take on your.
Mhm.
Oh, again, this week's Grendel shirt is a Christine Spar shirt.
Very cool.
Yeah, available on graffitidesigns.com, probably still.
This one's really cool because structurally, Matt does something. It's simple but ambitious. 3
Very much
panels
makes
per
me
page.
think of. Oh yeah. Like makes me think of the title cards in Clerks, where it's very dense word, or a very what did my English teacher said, a $5 word or something, or it's like an old school.
Sure.
But yeah, these bigger words that kind of have a dense meaning that pertains to what's going on in the panel. The 3 panels, like you said.
A single word per panel.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into it.
All right. We see a nice double panel of the World Trade Center here in New York, which is nice.
Sure. And the camera pans down, past the gutter to reveal Grendel, Lower Manhattan.
Patience,
Direction.
Grendel.
Ooh. Okay, cool. In the middle one, there is very nice use of red. Very subtle.
Very nice. Very. And this is one of those times we keep talking about the red, but this is okay. I was about to say this maybe doesn't refer to anything, but I'm completely wrong. This is where his mark is dwelling.
He's
Probably
looking.
he's
Yeah,
like, exactly.
Really cool. And for such a realistic style to get kind of like iconographic in this way is really interesting. A lot of the red in here is for blood, but here it really helps tell the story.
That reminded me too. This is the story that Matt told us about that was originally for Tim Sale, but he didn't want to do it due to the last frame, which we'll show you when we get there. But
yeah, great.
I mean, John Paul Leon did, as Matt said, an amazing job on this. It's amazing. The next one, let's do like all 3 words, and then we'll get to
Sure.
Insurrection, revelry, wantonness.
Yeah, here we see probably not a Chacon boss, one of the other
probably
families in New York,
Right.
and he's with his lady, his Gumar, perhaps. Who knows?
And obviously the word pertains to the fact that they're watching Star Trek Insurrection on the TV there.
That was my thought too. I was a little confused about insurrection. I was like, it means like a coup, violent uprising, like that. I'm not.
Ooh, maybe the violent uprisings in his pants.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what is she swinging her purse or something like that. It's a little. It's
Her panties, maybe.
Yeah. Who's to say? Anyway, so they get it on.
Revelry.
Revelry and wantonness with the beautiful Grendel shadow over the bed.
Oh yeah. So he probably fell asleep. He probably he couldn't finish or something. So he's wanton.
Again, this calls back to the Tim Sale story where Grendel stands over
the bed there.
Someone's bed. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I'm noticing as we kind of really go through these in detail is that there's a lot of repetition and, it will be slightly different, but Matt really has a specific MO for this character and how he does his business and the things that we see happen over and over again. And we're going to be talking about that a lot in this episode, whether it's this or something else.
Agreed. Atonement, meaning you got to pay for what you're doing here. It looks almost like he has he has like something wrapped around his arm, like he's got like a cast or they took a finger. Is that what
I was thinking that he took a finger. I was thinking they strapped him to the bed.
Yeah, Grendel took a finger overnight and but bandaged him up.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to do a thing. It looks that way. It's such a realistic style that if you look at the shadow on that middle panel, you can sort of see the nub.
Yeah, you can kind of see a nub.
It's like when you're dealing with such masterful realism, if you look hard enough, you'll see it or you won't, I guess. Anyway, So they wake up shocked that he's missing his finger, and then he has written a message on the dude's belly. With his fork.
Yes. Eye for an eye, dig it for dough, cross me again, and who knows? G.
Oh, it says digit for dough. So
digit for dough.
He cut off his finger. Yeah.
The dig it. That makes sense. It's the same letters. Dig it for dough.
That makes a lot more money. All right. So this guy owes him money. Wonderful.
Yeah.
This is such it's etherealness, but when you look at it, it's a very strange looking word to look at. Delicate, wispy, ghost-like.
Yeah. Moving in silence at night, like all this movement and.
What a gorgeous composition as the Goon Squad kind of cases the rooftops.
Yeah, looking for Grendel.
Yeah, really, really, really nice.
Next page, first one, impotence. And I think it's pertaining to I can't find him. Like he's at his, he's in his apartment and he's drinking Dewar's and he's he shattered his glass because he, nothing he can do can find Grendel. He has to pay for taking my digit up. He feels impotent.
Yeah, the Dewar's box is strange because it's such a very specific detail, and that's where it's my eye went to that, and I was like, oh, photo reference,
Yeah.
But that's fine. And then I really like the acting of the girlfriend or the wife, whoever she is. Mm-hmm. And it's impotence in the way that his incapability to deal with it affects the way she feels in the situation and all that as well.
Right.
Then banishment, they kind of make this bodyguarded show of getting out of town, going down to
upstate.
Upstate. It's funny. This happens in Batman and the Monster Men. Is that Carmine Falcone has a place upstate Gotham or whatever it is. They get out of town.
Yeah.
And he is ensconced. I had to
what's
Google that one. It's wrapped in comfort, protected.
Okay, so here they are in this gated, right? They're in the gated, estate, upstate New York, out in the middle of nowhere. waiting
Super
forever.
boring.
Yeah. Tedium is the next panel. He's just in there smoking a cigar. She's probably just drinking all day, as she is portrayed at the bar. They have everything they need, but it's like, except for something to do. And they already binged everything on Netflix.
Well, it's my thought here is that what an interesting style, because it looks so spontaneous, but it captures such realistic rendering.
Absolutely, man.
If you look here and then on the impotence panel, the mob boss's face, just like the way he slashes the brush to kind of get the eyes in there and stuff like that. It's really,
like he only draws like the shadowing that I could never even get to if I didn't already lay down all these other lines.
Yeah. Really masterful stuff.
Absolutely. You think he uses like brushes mostly, like almost, because there's almost no fine line, so he must use like a thick brush of some type.
Yeah, it's a really cool high contrast style. There's
sure.
always another detail like, I've never seen that done quite that way, or it really comes off the page. Anyway, we've got delivery and revival. So it looks like some business associates show up. They bring probably money or drugs or booze.
Well, yeah,
in
the next one, you can see that she's tooting some
doing
lines. Yeah,
there you go.
Joni
And
loves Chachi.
Oh my God, the details and the lighting on her face and hair is like unbelievable.
Yeah,
I really love the way her eyelids and lashes are done up.
Mm-hmm.
Quite nice.
Yeah, she's having fun. Finally, they've got some Chianti.
All right, I'm on 198.
Hmm?
We've got domain, encroachment, castigation. Again, welcome back to the docks, it would seem. Or
Yeah.
At least a warehouse somewhere in probably Manhattan.
Yep, the docks are where everything happens.
Mm-hmm. And then it looks like he had the nerve to go back to New York, and it would seem they've got one of Grendel's guys, or maybe a Chacon associate, a known Grendel soldier or something.
Who has been encroaching on my decrees.
Yeah, interesting. And then castigation, a stern punishment.
Is that what that one means?
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
Okay,
and then in the negative space of the blood, they must have written this in China marker first so that it wouldn't.
It wouldn't splotch on there. Yeah.
In Frisket.
Yeah, they keep an artist in residence to do all their type of work.
Well, it's funny because this is Grendel's kind of style to like leave notes in blood. Well, you leave me a note in blood, I'll leave you a note in blood, buddy.
Buddy.
Fuck you, freak. The Fats is back.
Damn.
All right.
And then he is back. He's been invigorated.
Yeah.
Again, revival, then invigoration. But it seems like they went down to New York and then they went back upstate. Maybe. Yeah, they had to.
Yeah.
So that he can receive some fellatio.
Yep.
And then a very sad panel of recklessness. He made it known. I mean, Grendel probably watched the whole thing and then followed him right upstate. Yeah. In the Grendel copter.
The German shepherds bleed out in the grass. Yeah, in the Grendel copter. Funny. We'll get some good Grendel gizmos in this episode. And then vulnerability. The guy that's watching all the cameras. Guy. Buys it. And Grendel's kind of like on the cameras.
Every single screen. Yeah.
Super cool.
Continuing, it's repetition again. Page. Here he is again. Repetition. I didn't want to have to be back here, Fatty, but you made me. Fats or whatever his name is. Retribution. Grendel.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
This is yeah.
He's not dead, but she is. Been fully decapitated.
He cut off her head, yeah. Oh God.
And I think it was something Matt said was it kind of in reference to The Godfather, or where they found the head.
Yeah, it's like the horse head.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like
it's the opposite.
That idea on steroids.
Exactly. Oh boy. Gross. What a great story. I think each one of those words is enough to paint the image for you to figure out and generate all the narrative in your head. You don't need all that information. You don't need the amount of information you get from like a 60s Stan Lee panel. You
Yeah, where
definitely
it
don't
tells
need
you
all
what you're
that.
looking at, no
Yes.
matter what it is.
Oh my
It's
God.
awful.
It was really a
so,
change of comic book writing when you realized that the reader
yeah.
was not an idiot.
Well, this story would work without that one word,
I think so.
because there is some text in the notes that they leave each other,
Oh yeah.
right? So that kind of like tells you what you need to know, that they owe money, they cut off his finger, blah blah blah. Do they ever show the missing finger again in the
I
rest of these
don't
panels?
believe so. We don't really see his hands.
Let's see. It is his. It's his left hand.
His
I
right.
think so.
His right. Well,
That's his
yeah.
left hand.
Okay. His left middle finger. Yeah.
It's his left middle finger. You never seem to get a good shot of it. But the other, so anyway, you could cut out the single word captions, or conversely, Matt could have just written a large caption to like let you know who this guy was and what his deal was and what the deal that went down, all that stuff. But it's such a like realistic and rich visual
Yeah.
style that you just like you don't need it at all.
Don't even need it. I mean, we could have like even an inner monologue too, just going on from his or her perspective or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just great, and I think it's really great color work here on the final panel. Like the breast is completely red, like that whole side is red. There's no like black line around it or anything. It's just well colored.
Yeah, the super high contrast goes into the red. Look at the lighting on the bed in the last panel. It's like it's like super realistic.
Like it was completely dark except for the creak of the door that Grendel, or maybe even the window of
the
Grendel.
window, yeah. Anyway, great story. Well done, John.
Great story. Thank you, John Paul Leon. That was great.
What are you going to tell me about Jay Geldhof?
Devil's Signal. He's got a very interesting style. Now, I Googled it to try to find maybe where I had seen him or if I had ever seen his style before. He was an inker. He got a lot of his early work was inking, including some Grendel work, but he also inked The Mask, Adventures of the Mask, which is the comic based on the cartoon of The Mask. Mm-hmm. This cover is actually by Paul Dini.
Yeah. That's cool.
Oh my God, did you just hear Raja purring into the microphone?
No.
God, it was so loud. I'm going to pump that up. Dude, this ad, I feel like I remember on comics so much growing up. Did you ever play this game?
I'm not a gamer.
Yeah, not at all.
If I got into video games, I would have done nothing else with my life. No comics would ever have been made.
These comics are cool. I dig them, and you can kind of see like this type of style, how it affected the way that his style is coming off later.
I saw a number of Marvel credits, and I saw some God and the Devil Grendel credits.
Yeah, I did as well. So maybe he was inking Tim Sale on that.
I think he was inking John K. Snyder.
Oh, okay. Tim Sale did the covers for that.
Yeah, he did something. There's like a backup story in the beginning, or the one about Elvis, like the Elvis priest.
Oh,
we'll get there.
We'll get there. So much good stuff.
This is Devil's Stigma by Jay Geldhof.
The Devil's Stigma, yeah. What do you think it means?
Well, I misread it all this time as Devil's Stigmata, so I had a whole fucking theory about what that was about.
Oh my God, you did.
And when you said stigma, the first time I heard signal, I was like, oh, you don't know how to read. I don't know. We'll get into it. There's a lot of mystery.
Yeah, and a stigma is like something you believe about someone that maybe is not true or something.
It's like the stink that's on them.
Right.
I was listening to our friend Kevin Polk's Mage podcast interview with Matt.
So good. And it's amazing.
At the very beginning, we've talked about Matt being a little cagey about direct questions, and I think it's because he tries to bake, as a storyteller, he tries to bake a lot of mystery into these properties.
Agreed.
And let's get into this.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah. Jay Geldhof here is using it looks to be graphic duoshade, the toning development boards where one fluid creates gray parallel diagonal lines in one direction, and the other development fluid does it this way. We've seen it in your favorite Eastman and Laird's TMNT.
Oh yeah.
We've seen it in Ed Piskor's Red Room. Dragon Chiang, I think, uses it. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it's a beautiful technique, and it really creates some powerful layers, powerful weight to things.
The thing that I like about screen tones is that it helps create like a duality between the organic and the mechanical, right? Because it's so industrial and it's so like precise that if your lines are shaky, if your drawing's not great, like mine, it kind of helps like pop it out. Okay. But the thing that I like about the duoshade is that there's sort of an element of the organic that's baked into the aesthetic itself, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with it depending on how you play with it. It would seem. Yeah,
I agree.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, this is a Stacy story. From the viewpoint of Stacy, very playful, very childlike in this story. Yeah, let's get into it. She's kind of talking about like bedtime stories. And is anything else you want to say about this first page before we keep going?
Yeah, I mean, it pulls out of the comforter that's a rose that in this version of their home, roses are all over her bedroom. Right. Kind of another subtle manipulation.
Exactly, a nod.
There's some weird shit in this story. There's a lot of questions to be asked about this one.
Nice. Let's get to it. So and so we see that there's some blood that has dripped on the comforter in the last panel.
Yeah, Stacy's telling sort of a fairy tale version of her own life. You were asking, were her parents rich? It says here that they were wealthy. Mm-hmm. And then every time she moved from Barry Palumbo's house into Hunter's house, the houses got like bigger and more lavish, and that she was a princess in an even bigger castle in the city. Woo.
Yeah, there's a very cool kind of like storybook quality to many of the interactions in this, but it also goes from that to like the scary, and then right back to it like because it's her and Argent hanging out in her room. We see on the next page.
Yeah, this is the one story where that happens. We've been told it happens a lot. Mm-hmm. The last time we saw Stacy, she was sad that Argent couldn't come to her birthday party.
That's right.
So here we are, a week later, 6 months later. I don't know what.
He came to check in.
And this is that visit. So.
Yeah, and they're talking a little bit about it, and she pricked herself. There's that needle that I lost in my bed.
Oh, weird. Weird. But it's very fairy tale. Prick your finger on the rose petal, or was that Sleeping Beauty or something like that?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not sure. Anyway, we turn the page. Yeah, she's lost a darn needle, and she's chilling with Argent.
Who I think is well sized and rendered in this, seemingly maybe the size that he would be. He's like a normal human size.
That's interesting that you mention that, because when I think about proportion and portrayal and what sticks out to me in the story, it has always been the way Stacy looks. I find very strange, and it sort of fits in with the story, but she looks like a little adult.
She definitely looks like a teenager, but in a small body.
You had mentioned that this kind of has an anime look, and we'll get into that a number of times, but it's something a little strange about that. Anyway.
Well, I think that how I said it has an anime look, I think now knowing that Jay Geldhof spent some time inking in like a cartoon fashion or something like that perhaps that had an impact on his own design qualities.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Look at the duoshade in the skyline outside the window.
Oh my gosh, that's so Eastman and Laird out there, because it's like dots. It's like circle, almost Kirby Crackle in a way, where it's
like stippled and faded out with two different tones. Really delicate stuff. I mean, he's fantastic. Anyway,
I really like the way that different artists will attack a bookshelf. Like here, instead of putting books in there, or putting Mage or something on the thing, he uses glyphs, not even really letters,
Yeah.
Someone else might throw in a book that they dig, or might throw in nods to their friends or something like that. But I wonder, I mean, that could have even been a direction from Matt to be like, don't plant any of this in our real world. Don't do anything to like detract, though there is like a magic 8-ball and stuff. But
Well, yeah, there's like 5 copies of Hunter's book in a row. It's what I would imagine, like the extra,
oh, that's what you think is all the books on the shelf.
Copies. No, I
Ooh,
don't think so.
copies of that one lady's book from the story last week where she was like, that's your favorite artist, her favorite author.
It's funny when you dig into the Batman omnibus, there is a story, a Riddler one shot where there is a bookshelf, and Matt, or actually it was the artist, I suppose. Every single book has a title, and it's like Kurtzman, Mad, Two-Fisted Tail, Swamp Thing, Mage, like
I love that,
everything.
Man.
So you'll get into that.
Love it. I spent a lot of time on a mini comic cover where I just drew like an entire bookshelf and just must have wrote like 100 books. So yeah, Argent is taking a look at her little thing. You shouldn't make such light of bloodletting here. Let me. And he kind of like, which starts a very creepy path for
Super
Argent.
weird.
Yes.
Super weird.
Am I forgetting something in his backstory here that makes him crave blood or want to? Is it his bestial?
He is checking to see if it was a rusty needle that passed infection onto her finger.
Okay.
He says no infection, and we in the past have talked about this scene, him in the house, and his sense of smell.
Right, like why can't he smell the same, Hunter and Grendel?
Yeah, so it's either, and Hunter has done something brilliant to mask his scent.
Yeah.
Because in that phone call, when Argent is raging out, where is she? It really seems like he has no idea that Hunter is Grendel.
Yeah.
So
it really does.
So there's some unseen thing, it would seem, that Hunter's done to mask his identity from this guy.
Which is genius.
He can smell infection in blood. So, all right.
What did he do? So, yeah, anyway, he's like, and Stacy's kind of being this inquisitive, smart little girl and kind of leading Argent around and telling him how to do these like house things that like Hunter has taught her to like wash her cut in iodine, then put on a Band-Aid, product placement. And that's as like, and while she's in the bathroom cleaning her hand, he's kind of like, licking, kind of like tasting.
Yeah, it's pretty weird, dude.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of drool that's like kind of bulging off his tongue.
Yeah, there
bottom.
is.
So, I don't know what to say about this. She is telling him that Hunter is a genius. He knows everything about everything.
Mm-hmm.
They say he's brilliant. And my sense at this point is that this is him being friend-zoned by her.
Yeah, I would agree.
Not necessarily in a sexual way, but in like, not in a sexual way, but in a, where the attentions of my affection and my loyalty lies.
Right. Like the jealousy of someone who that person is their best friend, but their best friend is not that person.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's awkward.
Yeah.
And
he's kind of, it almost looks as if there's sweat on his brow. So it's almost like he's like the smell of blood or something like that has made him
guilty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe it was that.
Well,
that could be interesting.
Yeah.
And
Stacy's
he's super awkward. Like every balloon that he has stammering and stutter starts and ellipses and all that shit.
Right. Like maybe he when he's with Stacy, he's really trying to hold back these normal things because he's not really as she says, like it says right here, strangely enough, her only friend soon became a horrifying beast, which almost plays to this whole princess thing about like, how a princess could fall for a beast, Beauty and the Beast, or how
that he was kind to her, at least.
Exactly.
I think you're right, that that with the blood, it's like all he can do to like not freak out. When he sees blood, he's like driven to violence. I think his curse is acting.
Oh, that's part of it. Yeah. Okay. For
Yeah,
sure.
I think that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, she dabs it up. I love Jay Geldhof using the duoshade
Oh,
negatively to get the roses out from
Yeah.
different angles in every panel. So cool.
Really
That
well
must have
done.
been a pain in the ass.
It looks a lot too like the end papers for the comics. The floppies of these books have kind of like a rose like that.
Very cool.
Next page, we kind of see a little glimpse into her lifestyle with Hunter, and this kind of blurs it a little bit here.
Yeah.
To where is her dream here that she's going to grow up and marry Hunter?
That's what she says.
That is what it seems like, and that
That's what it
someday
says.
at last they would be married and live
He's only
happily.
12 years older than her.
Yeah, there's been bigger bigger.
Anyway, but it is strange, this one where she sits on his lap. They do not look. She looks older.
Yeah, her size is older.
Yeah,
like
she's also wearing adult clothing. It would seem.
Yeah, she's wearing like a collared shirt and what looks like a suit jacket or something, or maybe a sweater. And then this other image is of her older, I would guess, in front of one of the giant windows in their place that they live together in.
Yeah, and older and like sultry.
Sultry, yes.
Yeah, wild.
With two cantaloupes in a bowl that she's holding in front of. Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
those are breasts.
Yeah, they would get married and live happily ever after. Is this image of Hunter at the bottom? Is that from Devil by the Deed? Have you seen that?
I don't think so, because I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I felt like this was the first time that we saw him like at work, like writing or like creating.
It looks so familiar. Just like this pose. And it's kind of cool that like, you read this and it kind of like, it's not in sequence. You know what I mean? You read the saga, it's not necessarily in sequence, and then it kind of like trying to get the chronology right in your head gets a little confusing.
Kind of dips back and forth and stuff with little hints as to where like in the story things might be. And that's also, I mean, I wonder who, like, I guess it would say who like the editor of this book was, whose job it was to like put him in order. Did Matt say that he did that himself, or?
He indicated that was the case. And when you read these in order, the rhythm of what's going on, this has been, last week was Stacy heavy. This week is Stacy heavy. And what we're going to see in a shift between, I think this one and the last one that we do, is that there's some interesting stuff, which I shan't spoil. Okay.
Yes. Great. All right. So then we're back and she, is like, that's the end. And that about does it for the stain too. So she's dabbed it and now it's time to go soak. So come on, Argent, get off the bed. Oomph.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like just like domestic stuff. Like, this is how you do laundry,
Right.
Okay.
Well, and that's how I'm saying it's these kind of like peaks and valleys of like normalcy crossed with the slings and arrows of Stacy's life, her vision of the future, and this strange relationship that she has with the Beast Argent.
Yeah. So anyway, she'll finish the laundry, and then now the game is that they tell these fairy tale versions of their own stories, and so Argent begins his story. He looks so sad, it's like he's so pained. Anyway, once there lived an evil warlord who always dressed in black. Woo, what a splash.
Amazing. Love it. And it shows like him as this big evil thing, and Argent's kind of like small and like, and just the beautiful red lightning. The warlord ruled with an iron fist. Wait, he ruled with iron fist? I thought this was a Grendel story. Is this some sort of crossover? Though that would be kind of cool, actually. Iron Fist versus Grendel. Anyway, he ruled with an iron fist over a city much like our own, the foul taint. His foul taint, I mean, he's at the perfect level.
This is the only drawing of Grendel that Jay Geldhof does in this story, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's pretty good. It's a very, it's like tight and reflective. It looks like latex.
Yeah, and it's kind of Pander Brothers-y
Mm-hmm.
in the way he's doing the reflection on the thing that.
Yeah. I love all the wrinkles and there's the seam on the glove that I like so much, and then
Oh yeah,
delicate way he holds the fork like it's a musical instrument or something like that.
right. Yeah, like an elegant handling, not like brutish force of but that it's a graceful instrument that he's using.
You know what I like is the city skyline in the far background.
Mm-hmm.
For the furthest most plane, the way he treats that with those dagger strokes and a little bit of the duoshade, really cool.
Yeah, and that you can see that the digital reproduction of it, you can kind of see the imperfections and the strokes made on the duoshade on the buildings in the front. Like you can see kind of. I mean, I think that adds to it in every way. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, it sure does. I think sometimes it depends on kind of how old the fluid is, how much fluid you use, how gross the paper is. This is the kind of thing where if you scaled it up, then you'd really get the tooth of those lines in there. You do lose a little bit. Anyway, so Argent says that he feels like no matter what he did, his efforts were in vain, that he was trying to get justice in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Despite his most valiant heart, the wolf most often found the sum of his efforts in vain. And then he grunts, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah. And Stacy tries to play a little joke on him. Sir Wolf, you are at the tip of my blades. Make a move, and I will impale you. And he looks kind of surprised, genuinely surprised for a moment. Yeah. Boo, gotcha. Ha ha ha.
And then a great red panel say, "Yes, you did." I love that.
To me, it kind of his genuine surprise kind of suggests that he's on edge. Maybe not for Grendel, but for Hunter, who's about to arrive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, so Stacy laughs. Haha, your stories are so great. You bring it out in me. Oh God.
Yeah, he just seems to almost every line he delivers has a creep factor going on.
Everything.
It's hard, and he's not portrayed, gracefully or chill or cool, or it's always kind of I'd love to see how they met. Where did they meet? How did this friendship begin?
They met at Barry's house, it would seem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They met. I don't know who's. There is a big. That's a great question. There is a lot of Barry Palumbo, Argent, Grendel, Stacy stories.
Yes.
To be told.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Why did Grendel even kill him in the first place? To get to Stacy.
To get Stacy. So weird. Anyway, so Stacy now wants another story from his days in Ontario.
Long time ago, far away in the north.
Yeah. And then Hunter comes home. Nice static camera 2-panel sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Sweetheart, I'm home, Uncle Hunter. And he just
yeah,
doesn't like that.
Doesn't like that. Nah, she turns his back to him, and he's kind of just bounces. He's like, "That's it. Yeah. I don't want." Because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to share the attention. He doesn't want to deal with Hunter. So maybe in that fact, he's never really around Hunter long enough to get a good enough scent. Though we've seen him talk.
Well, in Devil by the Deed, there's a panel of them shaking hands.
Yeah, so that you would think
in
would be
the
enough.
apartment.
Yeah.
This is one of my biggest silly questions I'd like to ask, Matt. Yeah. Is Hunter doing some kind of scent masking, or does he just know? And now Hunter controls the one chess piece that means something to Argent, and so being allowed to have he has access to the apartment. He comes and goes through the window as he pleases.
Yeah. And he doesn't want to do anything to ruin it. So he's not prying.
Yeah, except if Hunter didn't like that, he'd say, Argent, do you think you could not come in through my windows? Or maybe you put locks on his window?
I don't know. My best guess is that Hunter rose as this upscale, scale as this sort of actor type of dude, playboy. He's always wearing like cologne. And so all his clothes have this like cologne, this like pheromone probably that he puts on to further beguile the people that he interacts with. And then so when
so, except
comes
there's only
Grendel,
one person who can detect pheromones.
yeah, who knows, man? He's got to do something. He's got to have a scent disguise. Mm-hmm.
I feel like I hope Matt's not like tearing his hair out, being like, these guys are so fucking dumb.
Well, he can't really tear his hair out. He done did that.
All right.
He seems to be enjoying it. I think, and that was another thing with Kevin's podcast interview that he said that he listened to everyone because Kevin like got every single reference and knew every single thing. But again, that's the difference between Mage and Grendel, is that Mage is full of these literary allusions and all this stuff, whereas Grendel doesn't necessarily have that luxury. There's
there's more of it also. You know, there's more different. Mage is structured in a very specific way.
Right.
So maybe the inker will change, or the coloring will change, or the style will change, but like every arc is the exact same length,
right,
dealing with a very specific idea. And here it's like constant reinvention. Anyway,
that's true.
Let's move on. Hunter comes home genuinely smiling. Look, I'm wounded. Ha, my little rosebud. He kisses her finger.
Mm-hmm.
I was just getting her fingers licked and kissed and sniffed and all this. Right? And, Argent helped me. Oh, I didn't know your furry friend was visiting today.
Right. And I think Hunter is also doing the same thing that Argent is doing, which is simply giving this to Stacy because it makes her happy, not asking many more questions. Though Hunter knows, Hunter is the only person in this story that is like knows everything. Though later it will become clear to Stacy even before it's clear to Argent.
Yeah, in Devil by the Deed, it also says that he knows when Argent's there.
Yeah,
and that he would purposefully come home a little bit earlier than normal to catch him there.
Yeah,
because Argent always ducks out. It's such a crazy social triangle that they've got going here.
Yeah.
Anyway, Argent was here. He decided to leave. He can get rather nervous around people. Yes, I'm sure he does. So that would suggest to me that is to lead us towards the fact that he knows.
That Argent has some sort of inkling, like he must at least know that like there's something about Hunter Rose that I don't like. It could also be that Argent's never able to get close enough to Grendel to get any type of thing until that final battle on the roof.
Right. And if he does know, he's like, well, I could just break into the apartment and kill him in his sleep, but Stacy would be there and she's already so traumatized, and I wouldn't want to. The last thing I would ever want to do is traumatize Stacy. Oh, that's what you don't want, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that.
Oh man, that's
crazy.
That next one, yeah.
So when I read this the first time, I told you I didn't like this one, and now it's much richer.
I think a lot of these stories are much richer for both of us, in just due to the fact of how we're dissecting each and every story so much. We're able to see so much more and put so much more weight on relationships. And like I said before, I never saw Stacy as much a part of this whole thing as I do now. And so these Stacy stories, maybe even previously, were like, get to the Grendel, where's Grendel? But now we're able to see how important Stacy is to the whole.
Yeah, and when you're bombing through a 400-page book, you don't always take your time. So it might have been different to read these in
floppy
DW&R floppies.
Yeah, I don't think I even had the floppies. I think I got the original trade.
Oh, okay.
That had them still in the other style of like this issue.
Yeah, I think I only have the Mahfood one. Do you want to give me, speaking of Mahfood, do you want to give me a little C. Scott Morse primer?
I do. I first learned of C. Scott Morse from this great book, Voodoo, Zombie Kid and Alien. And, again, because I was such a huge Mahfood fan, anybody that he dealt with, I was like, I gotta check him out. I gotta find it out. So then I picked this book up. I think it came out in '94. Oh, sorry, it came out in 2000. It's just awesome. It's a true. Oh wow, Worried Over by Jamie S. Rich, who also worked a bunch with Matt. He's the Batman
editor. Yeah.
Yep. It's by Scott Morse and Jim Mahfood with additional stray pencil marks and ink spillage by Troy Nixie.
Oh wow! Yeah, I think you mentioned that. Did he do the pickle?
Book? Magic Pickle, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that, man. It was pretty cool. A couple years ago at Free Comic Book Day, at Record Store Day. My cousin and I were in line at Amoeba Records, and Jamie S. Rich was just behind us. And I mean, I knew him, but I didn't say anything. We talked, in and out. We were there for like 4 hours. You get there at like, 7 a.m. and you just hang out all day in line and talk to the people around you. I love it. So it kind of got to this. We were talking music, and then it kind of got to comics. And then he was kind of like, yeah, I work in a little bit of comics. I'm actually the Batman editor right now. And I was like, I know. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's like, I read your book, cut my hair when I was a kid. And I just knew who you were. His interview with Matt Wagner, where they're cooking, is like so great. It's like one of the best interviews. He had a show called In the Gutters, where he interviewed a bunch of different creators.
Oh, coul.
Awesome Allred one and an awesome Matt Wagner one. C. Scott Morse did that. Magic Pickle. He's done some other great work. He had a really great interview with the cartoonist Kayfabe guys. I have a trade called like Weird Tales or something like that, where he did one shots about all these different type of heroes and like weird tales, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's a very fun. It's almost a children's book style approach.
Yeah. The story isn't really in a time frame. It's kind of just like on its own.
Yeah. Happening. Devil's Blessing. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we see a high rise. We're kind of zooming in on these top windows, and then we see a Mack truck about to slam into the window. Bam, bam. And then we see it's little Roberto playing with his toys in this glass house.
Yeah. Is it a house? Is it an office? Is it Grendel's house? Is it? I don't know. It's hard.
I would think is like an office. I'm guessing it's like or the penthouse of some mob boss.
Sure. And then there's this red stripe. The red is this interesting compositional element that doesn't change, but because it's on the wall, you can put it in perspective to lead it towards whatever you want it to, which is really kind of cool. It helps.
Another very creative use of the red.
It's really interesting. So
and do you think that this is watercolor as well, or even some of the duoshade?
I don't know. I think it might be like acrylic paint or wash or
multiple
digital
styles.
It might be digitally composited, like medium play.
Right. Really beautiful. Scott Morse, his strokes are just beautiful too. He's the first one that made me want to be like, how does he even get those lines? And I went to this art store. I was living at 6th and Bleecker then. And I would walk up to Broadway, and there was like the Tower Records right there. And then up the street on Bond or something like that, there was this art store I used to always go to. And I found that was the first time I ever found microns and the first time I ever found brush pens and stuff like that. And
cool.
I was trying out my all to be Scott Morse and Mahfood at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so he's playing and his mom is cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, the door slams open. And, okay, we've got him now. It's a gang of guys with some guns. And so Roberto hides. He hides under the desk until he accidentally creaks up a chair. And the hoods are like, blah, 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 blah.
You know what else is really cool is the panel borders. There are no panel borders, or there are no heavy lines. So it makes the blacks of the shadows and Roberto's hair, it just like you go to it that much faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh God, the red is so cool because it's just like, it's such a direct compositional element. Yeah, they shoot the place up and then they check it out. He steps on the truck, and Mom comes in. Mom hears the fire. Mom must have been vacuuming and didn't hear the guns go off.
Right,
That's kind
yeah.
of what it seems like.
It does, yeah. And she's like, Roberto? Maybe he was in the closed room even too, but I don't know.
I mean, it's fine. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. She does have the vacuum cleaner. And then she gets like torn up,
Pumped,
dude.
full of lead.
Yeah.
And it's really an interesting image because the style is childlike or storybook-like. And then all of a sudden you see this soft painting of his mom just getting destroyed.
Yeah, even the violence is kind of childlike.
It is.
In a way. It's not outlaw. It's
maybe even implying how this is all seen through the innocent eyes of Roberto.
Interesting. Anyway, he's not. He does see it. He does witness that.
He witnesses it all.
Who the hell is that?
Yeah. That must be her kid. Ah, fuck it. He's got to be in this wing. Like, so they're still looking for someone, which we don't even know exactly who they're looking for yet.
Yeah. So Roberto, I like this that he would still call them ustedes, even though they hurt his mom.
Yeah, they're adults. They've gotta. He's gotta.
Even as in the face of matricide, he knows how to conjugate.
Exactly.
So he slams his truck into their shoe. God.
Man, and with the precision that Grendel makes these neck strokes and the precision of Scott Morris's brush strokes, it's just everything about this comic flows so fast and so quick. And oh man, and then these panels are slash 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 as Grendel
and the red is forming its own triangles.
Oh yeah,
it's really that use of red is brilliant.
Oh, it's so great.
Such incredible movement.
My God. And then he's like, someone please turn on the overhead lights. And then he's like, there he is. Where? He's just so fucking fast. And Grendel is just cutting people down until we see him here. Very flowing, very
androgynous.
Very, absolutely. And very much in motion. Mm-hmm. And again, I love it how his words are different. There's a different text, a different lettering.
I feel like some people, and I would include my letterer, really does not like this. This is a taboo not to break. And I've seen discussions on it that like it's an offshoot of the mixed case font lettering conversation.
Right.
Where some people, especially people that are, like I'm thinking of like guys I would call boomers, like Kurt Busiek and Larson will be like, that's not how you make comics. You got to be legible. You got to use, it's got to be quick, clean, clear read, all caps. And I'm just like, oh man, like that's really fucking boring for me.
Yeah.
So
it has to be done right, I think. Yeah. I tried it in my first Monkey Lion issue. Mm-hmm. Where the like villain had a font and Lion had like my handwriting. I did hand letter that.
Yeah.
It might have worked, but I
think that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the example that's sort of like easiest to be like, look, it works, is when they do Thor in like modern books.
Absolutely.
They give him that like runic font.
And
you do an alien or a monster and you make it monstrous.
Yeah, and in the 90s too, they were doing it for Wolverine a lot. He went like to his Berserker thing. He was wearing that thing on his head, and they had this like real cool font on Wolverine.
No nose Wolverine.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, and it kind of these guys are talking like back off, man, and then it's like Grendel is in, like you said, mixed case. He's like, what makes you think that would stop me? Like it implies such a smooth cadence, such
totally
poetic.
Totally.
Yeah, so I think
and their font is normal. It's like it's a very beefy.
Yeah, thick.
It's thick. Is the kerning a little? I don't know.
Well, it looks good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But his is mixed font and graceful and like you said, the cadence. Anyway, so they're gonna shoot the kid. And he goes, "You think? What do I care for the lives of the weak and defenseless? I mean it. He's just a kid. I'll do it." It's like, oh God. Don't talk yourself into it, buddy.
Yeah. And the kid is just like, he takes it into his own thing, and Grendel uses that 1 second that he almost knew the kid would do. Like you would say, because I think we've talked about this before, is that you don't think he did care about that kid's life at all. It didn't matter.
He shows in the last panels that he does.
Kind of, by spreading blood all over his face.
No, he says he comforts the kid. He goes,
"Yeah, he's like
everything's okay."
Yeah,
and he gives the kid a little comfort.
That's true. Yeah,
dramatic moment of his life. This is the third time so far in the saga that we've seen him saving a kid.
That's true. Yeah, he does. He does like children, I think, and because a lost child like this reminds him of himself.
He's the Michael Jackson of superheroes.
again with Ben.
But again with motifs. This is the third time that this has happened.
Yeah,
right?
And I guarantee you that Roberto grows up to be like, a Grendel. He does something.
A Grenhead, yeah.
Yeah.
And when he's first in line at Christine Spar's book signing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's definitely. It's like I told you. There's that other Ho Chi Anderson story, and it's like it's about a guy who could have been this kid.
Oh yeah, I would love to see a follow-up story about this kid. Just the image here of the fork, because it looks like he used the fork to do that.
I think it's from his hand.
It's got it. Oh yeah, because the first panel he's got his hand like.
Well, it's funny because the waist he's got more proportions. The eyes, they're way spread out.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, then Grendel gets. I love this. Grendel gets on the phone. He calls in the cops to go take care of the kid. There's been some trouble and several deaths at the Tate Lasky building. I don't think that's a real building. We can look it up.
Yeah.
In the editing, you'll tell me whether shine or nish.
Okay.
Hurry, there's a young boy who survived the bloodshed, but he's all alone now. I thought at first I had read it, he's all right now, which was
like
leaning into my
Grendel.
sympathy thing. But he's all alone now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Well done.
Comforts the kid.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Fast, quick, smooth, elegant story here.
Yeah.
Well done.
In and out like a robbery. I really like this simple stuff. When it gets too dense with the text, it's harder for me to read and process.
Yeah, for sure.
It just is. But when you're doing something really simple, and then the way Morse treats the layouts and the red and the motion and the rhythm, it's very clear that Matt was writing to this guy's strengths.
Absolutely.
Really, really clear.
Oh, man. I'm excited to get in this last story. It's really good. It's great.
It reminds me of the scene in E.T. where E.T. and Elliot both get drunk during the frog dissection scene, and it cross-cuts the two.
So great. Now, let's see. This one's by Jason Pearson, who I don't know much about. I tried to look up. I didn't find a ton about him either.
He's the Body Bags artist.
Body Bags. Yeah, okay. I did see that. Weren't we talking about that some other time?
Yeah, he did a pinup in the Dark Horse Devil by the Deed.
Got it. Okay.
Where he drew a really, really nice Stacy. It doesn't look like this. This is in the Body Bag style. But his Stacy, she looks very Latina. She has a very, like a sloping nose almost. And it's Hunter in shadow, and he looks like a mafia don. He looks a bit older.
Okay, yeah, I remember this one now.
Anyway, yeah, man, this one's super cool. And the note that I would make here is that it is suggested, and I think it's very important, that I think that this story takes place after Argent falls through the roof.
Absolutely does. I was going to say that as well. This
the
one,
in her attitude
absolutely
is really, really pronounced. And if you track her attitude over the last 2 weeks of our podcast, in the 4, 5, 6 stories that she shows up in, she's melancholy, mellowing out. In the last one we read it, in a really good mood with Argent, and here she is bummed again. So in between those two,
yeah,
I'm pretty
that
sure
whole thing happened. Yeah,
that thing happened. Yeah,
she is not happy here. And it's immediate from the first thing in Devil's Cage.
Mhm.
So now Stacy is in this cage by the knowledge that she knows, not only about Hunter, but about the shame that she feels towards Argent.
Oh, you think she knows about Hunter too at this point?
And she says something
Oh,
like
man.
he's a liar. He lies or something like that.
Wow, I that never occurred to me. And it's one of those things where, we're basically at the halfway point in these black, white, and red stories, and I don't think Stacy gets a lot more attention throughout the rest of these.
Well, another thing that made me think that again is she calls him Hunter. And he said, "What happened to Uncle?" And
That's interesting because the last story that we just did, she wants to marry the guy.
Right. Absolutely.
So everything's falling apart.
Yeah. I think this takes place very close to the end of Hunter's life.
Yeah. Interesting. They're not some of these stories are chronologically sequenced.
Yeah. Now I also
of them are
think
like thematic.
Yeah. And I think that there's a black, white, and red timeline, and then there's a separate red, white, and black timeline. So like I guess for some reason I thought that they were going to all be chronological or something, but I think there's a totally different. They set it up again. So Hunter's trying to get
3-panel tier, and the reveal in the third panel is that the New York skyline that we're looking at is a jigsaw puzzle that Stacy's putting together.
Really good.
Really nice.
Hunter's trying to get her to go out. He's like, so there's a symphony going on, like you say, La Boheme. And she's like,
it's an opera.
It's an opera.
Yeah.
And she's like, dude, can I just stay home and watch TV like the other kids do? I don't like you anymore. And again, she's very melancholy, though this panel of her, she's got big, beautiful eyes and pouting lips and stuff.
Yeah. It's, sometimes Jason Pearson draws her very childlike and sometimes somewhat like prepubescent.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he lets her watch some ridiculous like Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Yeah.
And he's bored out of his mind and she's engaged by it.
He calls it mindless drivel. Don't you have some schoolwork to do? Like, wouldn't a better parent have had her do the schoolwork first and then watch the TV? Come on, Hunter. Anyway, instead of hibernating all evening, you could at least try to be productive about it. And she's like, productive. So, like, you can really see that she's, like, pissed. She is not the normal Stacy here. She's, like, yelling and screaming. You haven't even written in all this time. And, so they are definitely not.
Well, they're arguing like a couple.
Yeah, for real.
Which is
like an old married couple.
Yeah, that was my thought. I think that some of the acting in this one is a little like overdone, but that's fine. It communicates. But also,
it's a action adventure artist who's drawing. So it's hard.
A domestic scene. Well, when it gets into the action, it's fantastic.
Oh, it's bomb.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and then the lettering here, there's a lot of cool, cadence choices with the lettering.
Oh, productive. Yeah, with the D's, and then he throws her in her bedroom and locks her in there, and he's like, "I'm going out."
Don't you dare! I mean, that's how a couple argues.
Yeah.
Children, even her, and then he's on Central Park West. As we know, they live. This very nice reference. It really, between this panel and the top one, when he enters the park, it really feels like you're there.
Mm-hmm. She managed to get out. Now she's rustling around between this giant entertainment system that's super gothic, with all types of mixers and amps, and she's like, "What?" And he cut the RCA cable. No.
Yeah. The red, I'm not crazy about the red here. He's kind of slavish to it with the fingernails.
Yeah.
Right. And now the RCA cable. On page 1, the fingernails work really well because it's a close-up of the hand placing the jigsaw piece. And then when we see her, she's still got it. But here he sort of insists on keeping the nails and the juice and the RCA, and it's like,
it's like literal here. The red is used very literally.
It's a less thoughtful use of the red.
For sure.
For all the incredible talent that he has with the rendering and the camera work and the action and the lighting, and
Absolutely.
there's so many great things that he does here. Anyway, so these three thugs, or however many, there's four of them, I guess. They want to get Hunter, and we got like
Yeah, they're like, hey,
homeboy, neo-Nazi, Satanist, derby cap, bad news fellows from all walks of Satan's life, or whatever the hell it is.
exactly. Kind of like almost like the guys from Clockwork Orange, how they fixated on a style, and then kind of like, but each one is like
Each one's different.
a different hate group.
Yeah, well, it's funny because how many is this the second or third mention of neo-Nazis?
Maybe
There were
third.
the
There's the guy, the one story where it was the big paragraphs, and he was like,
the Tim Bradstreet one where
Yeah,
there was the third, the whatever is the Midwestern, whatever. So anyway,
yeah,
they're
they're like,
Hunter, and he's thrilled.
he's like, awesome. This is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, thank God. Well,
Yeah.
it's almost as if he knew this would happen,
Right.
they
If you
sort
go
of-
into the park at night in the 80s, it's what you're
Yeah.
asking for.
Right. And they're sort of attacking his, less than macho stature or whatever.
And his look, he looks he looks rich. He's well coiffed and groomed, and he's got a nice coat on and a nice shirt. And then he's like, I hear you.
This is where the ET psychic link thing kind of
Right.
comes in. We cut back to Stacy. I really, really love these 4 panels. The first one is -- think he is, and then there's other thoughts about art, complaining about him.
Yeah, like she's in there like like can't even just all the stuff is gurgling out of her rage and stuff.
Yeah.
And Hunter, then we're back here in the park. He just like dives off the bridge there, and he's like, "Catch me if you can, boys."
Yeah, his eyes and his pigment patch in the shadow are very cool.
Very cool, like Spawny almost.
Yeah.
And then we go back in here, and this goes against what I said earlier, which would be putting it into our world a little bit, where she's got a My Friend Totoro poster up, and what looks like maybe a gem poster or something.
Yeah, it's very funny because if you sort of like compare and contrast the way Jay Geldhof treats her bedroom and the way Jason Pearson does, and these I think are the only 2 times where we've seen this room.
I think so too.
It's interesting. This is much more of a kid's room.
It is. Yeah.
She got stuff taped up on the walls, and it kind of seems like Hunter. I don't think Hunter would let her do any of this. He doesn't even let her watch cartoons.
No. So when
he won't even let her have a dog. So he wants to treat her like a little lady to manipulate her into the fantasy that one day we're going to get married.
Right. And we also see again the fact that she has all these stuffed animals, which is what's made clear in the Chadwick story, Paul Chadwick story, is that he just always gets her these animals because she loves animals maybe, which is also the draw to Argent.
Oh, right. Yeah. And then there's this wolf. The one on the pillow is the wolf.
Right.
With the hair that looks like Argent's.
It does. Yeah. And it's got its own panel, seemingly for no other reason than to be like, here's Argent. And then she's like, what are you looking at? And that's the same time when the guys are like, oh, this guy's got balls. And, then her like little stuffed Argent, she's like, what are you looking at? And then we go back to the neo-Nazi guy. He's like, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. And then we go right back into Stacy. And she's like, no, it's not myself that I hate. And then, again,
Oh, right. She says, I hate myself. We didn't even read that part. She
sits
in her room brooding, and she says, I hate myself.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So much weighing on her.
That's crazy.
The burden of knowledge.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
There are so many.
We miss that. That is like so key.
There are so many other stories waiting to be written.
So many.
There are so many other things that can sort of, that are still that we still have to go back to Devil by the Deed to reference.
Absolutely.
So.
Matt, get ready for White, Black, and Red coming soon.
Anyway,
and yeah.
she
and here we see.
herself.
Yeah. She said, it's not myself that I hate. And we're kind of like inching forward in both of these stories. But then we see behind the dudes, we see Grendel coming out with his fork. And what I think is so badass, he's wearing the jacket. He's wearing the like trench coat and the shirt still. He just had his cowl that he put over. So
Always
he didn't even
ready,
change.
yeah.
Yeah, like just as another very major image of Grendel that we see is him in the suit, the suit and tie, you know. But that's not actually his uniform. But because in that first story he was at the party, he just put his thing on over top of his
Yeah, he can wear. Well, he wears his clothes, tuxedo and short sleeves and vest and fur trimmed coat with the thing. And as long as he's got his gloves on, he's good. I want you to look at the switchblade, the pen, and the fork, and the way they all lead into each other in a zigzag pattern, and even with some tangent lines in there. Really, that is brilliant. Really subtle.
Oh my God, that's great.
I love it. Yeah, really great.
And on the next page here, we see again just Grendel going crazy, just stabbing dudes through the neck with his fork, just squatching it. And then we see Stacy all pissed off. Like you said, she's got a pen and she's like stabbing stuff with it. And then all the awful, stupid people who made my life so stinking sad.
Yeah,
man,
she's not stabbing stuff. She's stabbing the wolf.
Oh yeah. She's taking it out on the wolf right now.
Jesus.
God. And so Grendel's chasing this guy. And here we see something that I had posited a few weeks ago, which is this Daredevil-esque shoot.
Where's the rope?
Where's the rope?
He's got a rope now.
Oh, yeah. He's got this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In the bottom of the fork, it shoots out and trips this dude on his chucks.
This is crazy. Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, the trench coat looks super cool.
That looks
the
so
rendering
good.
on it, really cool. Yeah. So.
Oof. And man, we get back here and she said, and Stacy's like, nasty Uncle Barry, big and clumsy Argent. Yeah. So
what do you think that's saying about Uncle Barry?
I mean,
do you think that Uncle Barry was abusive to her?
He had to have been. I mean, he's not a good dude. I don't think it was like a sexual thing, because I feel like he had enough access to that on his own. Although that doesn't necessarily take it off of a person, but also I don't know. He was definitely abusive
and
and
a bastard to her.
Just an asshole. He didn't probably want her, and his brother died, and he had to take her. So he didn't treat her nice. He didn't, he probably had someone else take care of her. Didn't spend much time with her. Was always sending her away when his business dealings came up, and
all these people that she was told you should trust these people. These are your guardians, and they all let her down.
Yeah.
And here she lays into Argent.
Big, clumsy Argent. Yeah. That can only reference one thing.
Yeah, sure.
So that's his where it sets it. Yeah, his literal fall from grace.
And I think what it is that if she now knows that Hunter is Grendel, which if I think it is, there's definitely stories that need to be written. Devil's little Joker or whatever. Yeah. It's, I don't know what I was gonna say. She's really, there's a lot going on there with Argent. Anyway.
And then that's when we see the punks being like, fuck, that's Tommy, he's getting ripped up alive. And then back to Stacy where the real interesting stuff is happening. She says, lying Uncle Hunter.
Yeah.
What does he lie
about? She does call him Uncle here. Remember you were talking about before, she just calls him Hunter.
Yeah.
So what does he lie about? Yeah. I mean, what he's up to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When he leaves all the time, he says he's doing X, or he doesn't reveal the truth, but
or maybe he tells her like, "Oh, I'll take you to the park this afternoon," but then Grendel business comes up and he doesn't get to take her to the park. He doesn't get to bring her home that toy or something. But she says, "I hate you," and I didn't think she hated Uncle Hunter until after she found out that he was Grendel.
So there you go.
Yeah. And then, it just continues with the dude in the Slayer shirt getting yanked up by his neck and slaughtered. The classic, like the other guy's looking away and then he gets, whoop. Oh shit. And then Stacy's just like, I hate you all.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of rage, anger. I mean, obviously rage, anger. She's so violent in these panels.
She's
violent. Stabbing it with a knife and tearing out the stuffing. My
Yeah.
God.
Oh my God. And then back to Grendel, who's so smoothly, gracefully in the backhand pokes this guy right through the neck again, or right through the heart maybe. And oh no. Okay, so he sweeps his neck, and then he's like, "You had your best shot, asshole." And then that classic samurai movie thing where the head falls off.
Oh yeah, I think it's a little tough because there's a shadow in the first panel. His hair is solid black.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't read it as the same guy for half a second. Obviously it is.
Yeah.
It obviously is.
Yeah. And it says, just classic Hunter here. It's like, it was so very nice to have encountered you, my friends. I must say, you were just what I needed. Mm-hmm. So he just went out for just a quick murder spree. Just a quick killing in the park.
Because the stresses of parenting were too high for him.
And so they're both satiated at the end of this wild and crazy emotional tear.
Very crazy.
Yeah. And she falls asleep in the ruins of this stuffed animal, and Uncle Hunter leaves the park with those hoodlums bloodied and bashed.
There is a large portion of the narrative that is left to be lifted by Devil by the Deed.
Yeah.
And I would love to see it get elaborated on, because there's a lot of moments in these BWR and other stories that have direct connections to Devil by the Deed. And then there's other stories that are just vaguely alluded to, like the Tim Bradstreet one, where it's there was crazy criminal business going on. Let's get into all the ins and outs of all that stuff.
Yeah. And there's only really 5 to 7 years. So there's lots of stories to fill in, but then it's always clear where it's happening. It's not like a Batman story that could have taken place. There's this huge swath of time from
Yeah. Well, it takes place on a real timeline,
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, 5 to 7 years from the time he's 14 when he meets Jocasta,
Mm-hmm.
and he's 21 to 23 when he dies.
Yeah. Man.
Oh man. So there are all kinds of pockets of this guy's life waiting to be examined.
So many.
And I hope that one day they get to be.
I hope so too. Hey Matt, if you would like some help generating ideas for the white, black, and red story, holler at me and Ben. So next week, we've only got one more story left, and that's Devil's Domain by Chris Sprouse and Inks and Colors by Jason Martin.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure out
there's also there's a Matt Wagner short after that, Sympathy from the Devil. So we can cover that. And then we get into Red, White, and Black. So maybe we can do those two stories. And I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it would be possible for us to go into Batman Grendel as a palate cleanse in between 6 weeks of short stories.
Let's do that. All right, great. So
let's just do Batman next week.
Well, we can start it. We'll do those two, and then we can give a little bit of background on Grendel Batman, and then we could start it out.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? We can do whatever we want.
Another good week of Grendelin.
Another great week of Grendelin, Ben. Vivat Grendel. Keep on Grendelin.